Israel's genocide in Gaza to no place has been so aggressive perpetrators
really sad, right? How scary. الفكرة تقول اللي خايد قرايبه ولا فيه
ولا فرق معانا مدرسة بولد بتاعي
That's what they did, and they are complicit in every death and every day. They did not even try to pretend that they believed Palestinian life had even the smallest fraction of the worth of an Israeli life or a Western life. They deferred to Israeli lies. They airbrushed atrocities. They stripped away all the context and started the clock on the 2nd of October.
he's after like BBC. Going after like BBC. Yeah, the whole big long thing.
We can go on again. We must say it loudly. Without the Western media, this genocide would never have been possible. And we can go on. The destruction of hospitals, the slaughter clinics, the annihilation of civilian infrastructure, the mass butchery of children, the deliberate starvation of entire people, the torture and rape of Palestinian hostages. But meanwhile, the journalists of Gaza, the lions of the world's press back, the bravest journalists the world have ever seen, who's ever walked the face of this earth, they risk their lives every single day, knowing that every last day, every minute, every second could be their last, not just for them, but for their children and their families, often exterminated alongside them. And yet, in the biggest massacre of journalists in the history of our species, the vast majority of Western journalists couldn't even utter a sentence of solidarity with their colleagues as they were butchered. How dare they? Shame on them! Shame on them forever. And just finally, we must hold all of the guilty men and women to account. In our political elites and our media elites, there are no excuses. There is nowhere to hide. You cannot claim you did not know what was really happening in the first live-stream genocide in history. We cannot let them get away with it. This crime is too extreme, too depraved, too shameless. If we do, it won't just be the ruin of the Palestinian people, but the ruin for human civilization as well. Free, free Palestine! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! Stop arming Israel! Stop arming Israel! Free, free! Free, free!
Stop the War, which is one of the co-organisers of today's rally. Please welcome Lindsay German.
Thanks very much. Tomorrow we have the ceasefire in Gaza that we've all been demonstrating for 15 months. And everybody must celebrate at least this brief pause in the brutality meted out to the Palestinian people. But we all know that the level of destruction is horrific. Every hospital, every school in Gaza are destroyed. 1,000 health workers dead. Hundreds of journalists dead. That is the fault of the Israelis. But not just the Israelis alone. Our government here in Downing Street, Joe Biden in the United States, and all the people who have said that Israel has the right to defend itself, just as Keir Starmer and David Lammy have repeatedly said, they have blood on their hands. They have the blood of tens of thousands of Palestinians on their hands, because everybody knows this ceasefire could have happened months and months ago. And it didn't, because they backed Israel against the Palestinians. They allowed these war crimes. They allowed the genocide. And not just the government. We wanted to march on the BBC today. And as Owen has just said, the BBC is complicit in telling lies about Gaza. It's complicit in backing the Israelis over Gaza. It is the state broadcasting company. What did we think anywhere else in the world? We were told the state broadcasting company wouldn't allow a demonstration outside its headquarters, and police were surrounding the headquarters to make sure that people like you and me aren't able to get there. We would say this is a dictatorship and it's not acceptable. And when it comes to the policing here today, it is absolutely shocking to see the level of repression that we have faced over our democratic right to march, our democratic right to protest. We have been told that we're hate marches. We have been told we don't have the right to march. We have been told we cannot go to the BBC. This is a denial of our democratic rights. And I want to make it clear here and now, we are not going to stop demonstrating. The ceasefire is only the beginning of justice for the Palestinians. It's only the beginning of what is required. We will keep demonstrating. We will keep protesting. We will hold Starmer and Lammy to account. And Donald Trump is in the White House on Monday. And he needs to think that he's going to get a free pass either. Solidarity with everybody. Down with the imperialists. Down with what Israel is doing. And let's fight for justice for the Palestinians. From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the sea to the river! Palestine will live forever! From the sea to the river! Palestine will live forever! From the sea to the river! Palestine will live forever! Our next speaker is the MP for Hayes and Harlington, who has been fighting in Parliament to defend our right to protest this week. Please give a warm welcome to John McDonnell MP.
I've been on virtually, I think, every demonstration, and every time I've spoken about the children of Gaza. This week we've seen the reports of those children, some of which are frozen to death, and others are dying of malnutrition. So yes, we welcome this ceasefire, of course we do, and we'll be working for a lasting peace. I just want to say this peace wouldn't have been brought about if it hadn't been for the mobilization of people like you across the globe. So I just want to say this. Often we don't thank people enough, but I want to say this. Thank you for the privilege of marching alongside you over this last 15 months. Thank you. I want to say a special thanks to our comrades and friends in the Jewish bloc who've marched alongside us. I want to thank those trade unions that have stood with us. On Monday, I will be visiting some young women from Palestine Action who are in prison as a result of the protests that they undertook. The anti-terrorism laws were used against these young women simply because they campaigned for peace. I want us all to send them a message of solidarity today, that they hear in their prison cells where they're detained. I want us to thank those journalists who courageously have worked so hard to report on the war crimes that have taken place, and yes, condemn those in the BBC who've distorted the news to us.
Yes.
Can I say finally as well, just this? I want to thank one person, a hidden hero in this campaign, and he won't like me mentioning it. I want to thank the General Secretary of Palestine Solidarity Campaign, Ben Jamal, for all the work he's done. We are not going away. We are not standing down this campaign. We will continue until we secure peace, but above all else, justice for the Palestinian people. Solidarity.
In our thousands, in our millions. In our thousands, in our millions. Free, free. Free, free. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. Our next speaker is here representing Friends of Al-Aqsa, one of the co-organisers of today's rally. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Ismail Patel.
Assalamu alaikum. Friends, we stand here today with a glimmer of hope in our hearts. A ceasefire deal has been agreed. However, we have to be cautious and embrace this moment with trepidation. As we continue with our fight, we must understand that what we have in front of us is a great struggle that has to continue. Your coming out here has been pivotal to ensure that ceasefire deal. Let's not be mistaken. If it wasn't for you coming out week in and week out, it would have been possible for Starmer to get his way and make sure that food has been stopped to the people of Gaza. They would have no electricity and no water. If it wasn't for you, it would have not been possible for the ICJ to prosecute Netanyahu. If it was not for people like you, it would have not been possible to bury the lies from the BBC. You have exposed all that, and for that, let me thank you for coming out, and it is your work that should continue. My friends, as we note, we find ourselves in a very difficult position. Not only the government, the pro-Israeli lobby, the BBC, but unfortunately now the police even denying us our freedom to march, our freedom of expression, our freedom to demand justice. We must not stop. What we have achieved so far is a milestone which means that if it was not for us, Gaza would have been wiped out. There'd be no people in Gaza left. And therefore we need to continue. And we need to continue to demonstrate. We need to continue to boycott. We need to continue with our campaigning. So let nobody intimidate us, and we will return back and demonstrate and exercise our right for justice, for freedom, and for peace. Friends, we have shown that our collective strength is greater than that of government and Stama. And let's show that our collective strength can bring about peace to the Palestinians and justice to the world and to champion humanity. Thank you very much, my friends. Continue with our work and continue for freedom. Free, 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 free. Thank you very much.
In our thousands, in our millions. In our thousands, in our millions. In our thousands, in our millions. And across the world, in our billions, in our billions. Our next speaker is here today representing the Muslim Association of Britain, one of the co-organisers of today's rally. Please give a warm welcome to Ragad Al-Tagliti. Brothers, sisters, friends, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all. We stand here less than 24 hours from the ceasefire in Gaza. For the people of Gaza, this means they can finally bury their loved ones and search for those still trapped beneath the rubble. But until that moment arrives, Israel's onslaught continues with brutal intensity. Bombs rain down on homes, schools and hospitals. Refugee tents remain targets. Entire families are wiped out as the world watches in silence. This is not the behavior of a state seeking peace. It is the calculated destruction of a people. It is enabled by governments that arm and shield Israel while refusing to demand accountability. The world must not look away. Every bomb dropped, every life lost in these final hours is a stain on the conscience of humanity and a damning indictment of those complicit through silence and inaction. For us, this ceasefire must be a moment of recommitment, a renewal of our struggle for liberation. We demand an end to the genocide and the systems that allowed it to happen. That means we must fight to dismantle apartheid and administrative detention and bring down the entire settler colonial regime. Accountability is not optional. We will not forget our government's complicity. It's arms sales, diplomatic cover, and deliberate inaction. Those who facilitated this violence are accomplices to oppression. We will not rest until they are held accountable. We know, they know, and the entire world knows that Gaza will rebuild, Gaza will rise, Gaza will flourish. In the face of the world's most advanced military machine, Gaza stood unyielding. It endured relentless bombing, siege, and brutal silence from the world. Entire neighborhoods were obliterated, families erased, children robbed of their futures. Yet, Gaza did not fall. It did not break. Its people refused to surrender. They stood tall, a defiant force that shook the world. A testament to the unyielding spirit of a people who faced annihilation and declared with their survival, we are here to stay. This moment today is for Gaza. Their victory, their resilience is our pride. Gaza is not just a place, it is the living, breathing embodiment of hope. The moment is also for us, for our movement. It was not government, but the power of the people that forced the world to listen. This victory proves that when we stand together, when we stand united in purpose and conviction, levels of government attempted to stop us, our movement continues to go from strength to strength. What they fail to understand is that we will not stop until we see a free, liberated Palestine, a Palestine where its people live in dignity without fear, a Palestine where its children grow up without bombs and checkpoints, a Palestine where the skies above Gaza are filled with hope and joy, not destruction. We dream of a Palestine where people move freely from the hills of Jenin to the streets of Haifa, from the shores of Gaza to the sacred city of Jerusalem. We will not rest. We will never stop until Palestine is free from the river to the sea. Thank you so much. Free, 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 free. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. Our next speaker is Ahmed Al-Na'ouk. He is a Palestinian journalist and he is the founder of We Are Not Numbers, which helps emerging writers from Palestine tell their stories and advocate for human rights. So please give him a warm welcome.
My friends, as a Gazan, as a Palestinian, as a human being, as someone who lost his entire family in Gaza, I come here to tell you thank you. Thank you. And we are proud of you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. From Gaza, we tell you thank you for speaking up for the past 15 months. Thank you for protesting for the past 15 months. Thank you for never losing hope. Thank you for standing with the Palestinians. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. As we anticipate a ceasefire tomorrow, as we anticipate the end of the mass killing of the Palestinian people in Gaza, the shooting of children, the beheading of babies, the obliteration of entire neighborhoods, I want to tell you that this is a victory of us. This is a victory of the Palestinians and the pro-Palestinians who never gave up on the Palestinian people, who have continued to protest. But at the same time, please let us not forget that the mass murder of the Palestinians might end tomorrow, but it will not stop tomorrow. It will not stop because Gaza will still be under siege, that the West Bank will still be under the apartheid, that the occupation is still not over. So please do not give up. Please do not stop protesting. Please do not stop protesting for Palestine, for Gaza. Please remember that the people in Gaza will still continue to endure suffering and pain. That thousands and tens of thousands of children will live their entire life as orphans. So please do not stop protesting. Do not stop speaking up for Palestine, because our journey is still in the beginning. This is not the end of our journey. This is just the beginning. And we will still continue to protest and speak up until Palestine is free. All of Palestine is free, from the river to the sea. Thank you.
From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! We are hugely honoured to have our next speaker here with us today, as he has been on all of the 23, I think it is, national demonstrations for Palestine over the past 15 months. As a child, Stephen survived the Holocaust in Budapest, Hungary. His experience of war and expulsion from his home as a child has led him to become a steadfast friend and supporter of the Palestinian people. Please give a very warm welcome to Stephen Kaposh.
Holocaust Memorial Day is just a week away on the 27th, and it brings back memories for me. I was 7 years old when Germany invaded and occupied their unreliable ally Hungary in March 1944. This makes me 87 years old now, but my memories of the hiding as a hunted Jew on false papers and utter devastation of the climatic fighting around us between trapped German army and the Red Army is still crystal clear memory for me today. I see the burnt out cars, tanks, dead horses and human bodies, abandoned ammunition, helmets strewn about, burnt out buildings, mountains of rubble and broken glass everywhere. Just like tragically destroyed Gaza is looking today. Only our area where we were hiding with false names and papers was much smaller. It was the royal castle district on the Buddha Hills where the climax of the siege of Budapest was played out. I now think of it as Gaza in miniature. There was even the same sadistic inhumanity at work in targeting hospitals. There was the massacre of the nearby Mary Street Jewish Hospital and of another one not too far, carried out by the Hungarian fascist Arrow Cross when they executed doctors, nurses, patients in the courtyards, systematically impaired several hundreds of them. This was in January, February 1945, with the war and the battle for Budapest was clearly lost. And this was the last desperate, senseless eruption of sheer racist hatred. Meanwhile, during this total siege for a few months, there was no water, only snow to melt, no electricity, fuel, or no bread, and candles became a kind of currency. Then came the happy anarchic liberation, never again to the cruel past. We Jews in hiding who had to relocate repeatedly at night under fire into the next supposedly safe destination, whereas a hunted people, lucky survivors, repeating, never again in our names, never again the humiliations, the wearing of yellow stars, the hiding, the pain of divided families, the fear of arbitrary arrests, the loss of right to even board a train. But soon there were no trains to board. Like in Gaza, no trains, no roads. Lucky if you can find and pull a handcart with a few of your saved belongings on it. And divided families. I still recall my mother's sad expression telling me about my father's deportations to Belsen before Christmas 1944. But on the next day, we were lucky dinner guests of the trapped German army with their swastika flag still the main decor, as they were deceived into believing we were all Aryan war orphan kids. Then the agony of not having any news of father until well into 45, when he showed up unexpectedly. How many divided, cruelly decimated, or totally wiped out families do we see on our screen or hear about in Gaza to this day? I was lucky to be so young then, I didn't know yet what real fear was. But I remember the agony of all my adult relations all around me. And when I watched the images of Gaza's infinitely more complete and extensively drawn out destruction and agony, it all comes back to me. And like all of us, finding it unbearable, inexcusable, and incomprehensible. Not only is this fascistic, even at times sadistic dehumanization is being played out in front of our eyes, but it is being justified by the Zionists and the apartheid state of Israel by reference to the World War II Holocaust suffering as a cover. This is a desecration of the memory of the victims of the Holocaust. And I feel it on my skin. 15 members of my family died in it. The bombing and starving, genocidal massacre perpetrated by racist apartheid Israel is simply fascistic. And the comparisons with actions of German fascism of World War II should not be taboo anymore. The news of the ceasefire in the offing must be great relief for the long-suffering Palestinian people. But we, and mostly they, desperately need a permanent ceasefire. We can't have any future repeat of the mowing of the lawn, any return to bombing or destruction of any heroic reconstruction. The Palestinian people deserve to live in a truly democratic state where all religions are known, all ethnicities have equal rights. As a first step, the UK should immediately recognize the Palestinian state. We still have to struggle against false propaganda and false accusations from the racist right and Zionist forces as they still label our expressions of solidarity and love hate marches and unsafe areas for Jews. We, Holocaust survivors and descendants, together with a good thousand of socialist Jews, prove the opposite with our constant presence. We display our placards, show who we are, our solidarity, and say again that not in our name, and receive warm welcome and love in return every time. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! In our thousands, in our millions! Our next speaker is an actor who you may recognize from recent series of The Crown. He is also a steadfast supporter of Palestinian rights and freedom. Please give a warm welcome to Khalid Abdullah.
Thank you. I first want to say thank you to Stephen. It's a huge honor to speak after you. Thank you, Stephen. Tomorrow has come, or so they say. Tomorrow, phase one of this ceasefire begins. It remains to be seen if the ceasefire will hold or if the blood shed since it was announced augurs what it will become. But still, we will have cause to celebrate whatever its shape, for the respite in this genocide, for the return of hostages, for the release of prisoners. But while we do so, we must be clear. Tomorrow is already yesterday's nightmare. A ceasefire is normally a situation in which warring parties return to peace when the bombs stop falling. But for Palestinians, at best, this ceasefire is a continuation of occupation and apartheid. It is a continuation of the world in which if you were in the West Bank now, leaving this demonstration, every one of you would return home, passing through a checkpoint, by an illegal settlement or a wall that encircled you. It is a world in which if you were in Hebron, your journey from here to Trafalgar Square would have you pass through metal gates with AI guns, through streets blocked by walls and then segregated by whether or not you are Palestinian. It is a world in which if you came by car, your occupier would travel on fast roads and you would not. All while the forms of surveillance and control of your resources by the people who have occupied you for 57 years continues after the nightmare of the past 15 months. And if you're in Gaza, just imagine yourself watching Trump's inauguration on this day they've been calling the day after since this genocide began. You're still under siege. You're still under occupation. Your home has been obliterated. Family of all ages have been killed in the most gruesome of ways. You've been displaced multiply and intergenerationally. You live in a strip of land with healthcare in ruins, 90% of schools damaged or destroyed, every university flattened, and where they're saying it will take 15 years to clear the rubble, let alone rebuild. Perhaps for you, a ceasefire is simply a moment to grieve the unfathomable loss of more than 46,000 human beings without drones circling above you. This is the best of all possible worlds. And if you're a child in Gaza, a child who has survived, and the world of this genocide is your tomorrow, now just for a moment, imagine that child looking at you. Because we are not in the West Bank or Gaza. We are not in Palestine. We are here. We are the people who have been marching and finding ways to show our solidarity for 15 months now. And perhaps now is a moment in which we can thank all the organizers in this coalition who have worked tirelessly despite all the intimidation, lighting a torch across the world. Because time and again, we have shown that our marches are love marches, not hate marches. They are spaces for the joy that comes with fighting for freedom alongside grief and rage and holding what that takes in your soul. So let us dream that tomorrow and the day after the ceasefire holds, we know that this is the moment the work begins. Together, we have achieved a shift in global consciousness. Now is the time to consolidate it and to do the work for it to expand with stamina, because we cannot be here again. Which is to say, my final words are for those who have not been on these marches and who have remained locked behind forms of silence, but who see this genocide for what it is. I urge you to recognize your power. It is not just that silence is complicity. I don't want to blame you for what everyone here knows is hard. But in your silence is an abdication of your power to those who abuse it and turn it into a killing machine. We are here holding the space for a better future for everyone. We need your voice too. Join us to seize the future from the arms of murderers and war criminals so it may bend towards justice. A free Palestine is a freer you. Free, free Palestine! Thank you.
Free, free! millions in our millions. Our next speaker is here representing the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, one of the co-organisers of today's rally. Please give a warm welcome to Sophie Bolt. Thank you.
The ceasefire is an absolutely huge breakthrough. Finally, an end to the horrific slaughter of the Palestinian people in Gaza. But hundreds of thousands are on the brink of starvation and need urgent medical attention. So food and medical aid must be let in now before thousands more die. Whilst Israel has now signed the deal, we must do everything possible to keep up the pressure to make sure it actually happens, and in all its phases. From the release of hostages, all hostages, including the thousands of Palestinians, including children, held by Israel. Right through to the reconstruction of Gaza's homes, hospitals, universities, and schools. The entire Gaza society must be rebuilt. There must be, ultimately, there has got to be justice for the Palestinian people. And this means recognition of the state of Palestine. It means holding Israel to account for genocide. It means holding the US to account as its key financial and military backer. And of course, for its total and utter failure to stop the slaughter. Because we know an identical ceasefire deal was proposed in the summer, but the US totally failed to pressure Netanyahu, condemning tens of thousands of Palestinians to be killed. And it means holding the British government to account for its complicity in this genocide.